All right, so we are good to go. So the first question is, what value would you place on Right Now Technologies? And so I think, let me pull the case back up, because there was some interesting stuff in the case that we might be able to use to help us figure that out.
Right.
So if we look at the, because most of the time they look at a times revenue when valuing a company. So if we look at at their financial data, their revenue for 2003 was $29,300,000. 35,879,000. So I guess let's start with that number, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, just from reading the case, I would, because it said kind of, oh, how does it word it? What are the values rather than a single number? So I valued it between 35 and 50 million because the trailing 12-month sales were 35 million and some change, and then the revenue run rate was 50. So I just figured somewhere in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I valued it the same as Kip.
Yeah, so if we look at their actual revenue, and then there was a sheet here that gave.
Well, and it says that their revenues had grown over 35 million, so their valuation would be more than that, right?
Yeah, and so a lot of the companies, so if you go down to Exhibit 4, where it talks about data on selected M&A transactions in the software industry, so it talks about who sold and who bought.
Mm-hmm.
And what the value was, what their revenue was. So if we look here, Symantec Corp bought On Technology, and their revenue was about 35 million, and they did a 2.7 or 2.37 times, and so they valued the company at 82.1 million.
Okay, I see that.
So based on some of these numbers that I'm looking at, a lot of them are higher. There is one that was only 10 million in revenue, one that was only 20 million in revenue.
So it would be around 80 million, I guess.
Yeah, I would say probably between 70 and 100 million based on those numbers that I'm seeing there, because it's really anywhere from 1 to, I mean, are some that are a little lower than 1.
Yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm.
But it's basically the majority of them you're looking at in the 2s. The highest one is 4. So if you took their revenue and even did it times 2, you're looking at 70 million.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I would say probably somewhere between 70 and 90. I think if you went 100, you're talking more like this company, Validity Technologies, that provides enterprise data quality management software. What were some of the other higher ones? Provides remote software and content management solutions. Provides practical management software applications, e-commerce service, and electronic data interchange services. So, I mean, the ones that are higher, they seem to be along the same lines of trying to do like enterprise type software on a smaller, so they're not doing the full enterprise solution. Like they talked about, they were doing more of like cloud-based is what we would call it now. It was, I don't remember the specific terminology they used, but it's basically cloud-based now is what we refer to it as.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, based on that information, because they're based off their revenue and what the time sold, I would say I would base it between 70 and 90 million. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now seeing it. Yeah, makes
I would
sense.
agree.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we covered 1 and 2. So what value would you place on it? What would the range be? And how did you come to that conclusion? So if Greg's investors seek a 30 to 50% internal rate of return, what value will they expect? So let me pull the case back up. I had some of that information.
You said 30 to 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 to 50% internal rate of return. Trying to find where it talked about specifically, because I know it was 16 million is, or 16, 3 I think was the first one, and then 16 was the second. So Series A I think was 16.3. Let me see if I can find it.
Just wait. Case to be sideways. These sheets that are.
Sorry, what was that, Kip?
Is he
Thank
breaking
you
up
for-
for everyone?
They're in like the. I'm just trying to figure out how to flip them around here so I can look at them easier. Look real dumb. Look all.
In the top right, you can click on tools and then rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. It rotates all of the pages, but that way you can see
Oh my God.
the right way.
I thought that was a refresh, but I never even hit it. I was like, I don't know.
There's a little tool.
How funny. Thank you.
Yeah, so
That changed my life, actually. Awesome.
so $16.4 million is what they. So I think actually our number would be off then with the valuation, because the post-money valuation after round A was 100 million.
100 million?
Is
Oh,
what they
yeah.
had the post valuation at, and then I completely forgot about that. And then after they did round B, which was an additional 16 million, they valued post money valuation was 129 million. So that's what the company was valued at after round B.
Oh, wow.
You did see
Okay.
that in the case.
So on page 5, right?
I'm showing it's on page 6 is where the B round B or
Okay.
Series B, but 5 was 5 was where Series A is at.
Okay, valuation was 129.
Hmm.
Step up. It's underwhelming.
Well, let me just look at something here. So
All right. Okay.
What year is this acquisition offer happening? Is this happening in
2003.
Okay. So it would be higher than 129 million, correct? Because
Yes.
their revenues have grown.
Yeah. So I'm showing that it would be around 143 million if you did it like a 4 times revenue. You're looking at like a $143 million.
Okay.
which is higher than what round B would have been.
Yeah.
Let's see, and their revenues keep increasing.
Yeah.
So that's crazy that it was valued that high.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because it was 1999 is when they put the $1 million valuation on it, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the 100 million?
Yep.
And at
Uh-huh.
that point,
2000 was 129.
yeah, and at that point, total revenue was only 2 million in 1999, and then in 2000, it jumped to 11 million, but still 11 million being worth 11 million in revenue, and the company being worth 129 million. That seems like a far stretch to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I think we just lost Kip. But yeah, so if I were just going off of the revenue, I would base it at 70 to 90 million, but based off the fact that they already had a post-money valuation of 129, I would say you're probably looking like 140s to 150s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which seems absolutely crazy to me, but
Yeah, that is. And I'm sorry, this is something out of like the case, but is it just me or does Daniel seem to break off more than before?
Yeah. Yep. Danielle, your audio is just a little choppy. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
I'm just
I
wondering.
can still understand you, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I could still understand you. Just trying to make
Yeah,
sure.
I think our internet may be having issues.
Okay, that's fine. Just making sure. Okay.
So yeah, based on that, so Kip, what we were talking about was so based on the fact that it was 129 is what they were valuing it at post money valuation then. I would say we're probably looking 140s to 150s at
Right.
least on a valuation now.
Okay.
Did I lose you guys? Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, everybody froze
There you
for a second.
It's tomorrow.
Oh.
Came at a meeting.
Is it Dr. Seuss's birthday?
Maybe. Awesome.
It is.
All right, I'll see you in a little bit. I had no idea tomorrow's Dr. Seuss's birthday.
So let me see. So they were saying a 30 to 50. So let's start with 30% rate of return. And then that we're looking at on the original investment, so 99. So 5 years basically.
Um, are we still on number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What will their exit value be?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Well, that number cannot be correct.
Where are you looking at, Daniel? Are you on?
Oh, I'm doing a calculation.
Oh, okay, okay.
How do we calculate the exit?
So it would be, you would need to look at internal rate of return.
You said 30 for that?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how to calculate internal rate of return.
Hmm.
Because I haven't done an internal rate of return calculation in a long time.
I've never done one.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
Yeah, I think the last
Okay.
time I did it was in accounting 2, which was like 2 years ago. So
Mine is only a year ago, but still.
Oh my gosh, just reading the definition on how to calculate it is confusing enough.
I'm Googling
Yeah,
it
so-
You
too.
can use Excel.
yeah, and I'm trying to
Excel.
remember what the formula is in Excel.
It's the IRR, and then you put the value.
Oh, is it IRR?
What values are you using?
So what it was saying when I was looking elsewhere, it was saying that you would do the cash flows, which I do remember, like on a piece of equipment, you calculate what the revenue is off of that, and then what money you actually have to put out as far as payments. So like in year 3, if you have to do maintenance, then you would put the maintenance in. And so those values would be what you were using, but I'm not sure what we would use here. Because it is a little bit different than the internal rate of reviews that I calculated.
Would we use cash and cash equivalent? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, because I mean, technically you could use like assets as part of it, because technically what that money is going towards is assets. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting an inflow of any cash at any point along this time. The only thing that they're doing is they have an outflow of $16.4 million in 1999. And they're not getting, because I didn't see anywhere paid out dividends or anything like that, unless they're using deferred, which that is not an income to the stockholders. So the only thing that we have to base that off of is an outflow, no inflow.
Yeah.
What does it do if we just do that? It comes up with an error, so I'm not sure. We did something similar a few weeks ago. Let me pull that up. Do you remember which case that was in that we did that? Was that Buzz Agent?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so value of investor shares at exit. Okay, so that's what we need. So here, I'll share my screen. So what we're looking at, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is this right here. So their initial investment times 1 plus the interest rate to the number of years.
Oh, yeah.
$16 million in there, then that will tell us what the return that they would need off of their investment. And we can do that for 30, 40, and 50%.
Would it still be the 5?
So for the first investors that invested the 16.4, it would be 5 years because 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2003.
Okay.
So that would still be 5 years. Those that invested second round, that would be 16 million, and that would be 4 years.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm going to copy this into my other Excel spreadsheet.
Hey guys, I just have to step away for just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to set this up so that we can change values on it if we choose. So equals this times, I'm going to do 1 plus, we'll do that time to the power of that. And it's going to come up really weird right now. So let's do, this is going to be the percentage of 3%. This is the number of years. So we're going to go 5. So for the first one with 16.4 million. Can you guys still hear me, or am I?
Yeah,
freezing?
we can. I can hear you.
Okay. So that first one, here, I'll go ahead and put this in here, years. So that's the internal rate of return. And then we're going to do this as investment. So at the investment of $16.4 million, so $16.4 million at a 30%, the revenue, or to meet the internal rate of review, they would need to get 60 million out at, or almost 61 million out at exit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If we change that to 40, you're looking at 88 million, at 88 million at exit. And if we go 50, you're looking at 125 million.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's for the first one. And then I'm going to copy this. There. So those numbers should be the same. Now, if we change this to 40 years, and this to 30, we'll change this to 16 million. So let's say they both need an internal rate of return at 30. So based on that, it would be these two numbers added together. So equal this plus this. The investors you're looking at 30%. Label these just to make it easier to follow.
All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
You're fine. Okay, so we were just running through the numbers. So at a 30% on the round A, at a 30% internal rate of return, it would need to be almost $61 million return.
Okay.
If we bump that to 40, you're looking at 88 million. And then at 50%, you're looking at 100 and almost 25 million. Let's do this one at 50% as well. So combined, if they're both looking at 50%, you're going to need to sell at over 205 million just to give your investors the internal rate of return that they're looking for.
Wow.
With the acquisition, you mean? With the acquisition?
What?
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so the combined would have to be that. If you do 40 million and 40 million here, you're still looking at 100 or 40% and 40% on both Series A and B. You're still looking at $150 million just to give them their 40% internal rate of return.
Jeez.
So I guess our answer there would be between 106 million
450.
That's the minimum, and then the maximum. Let's go ahead and calculate that so we can see them together. But yeah, So that's what you're looking at, between 106 and 205 million.
I always underestimate how much you have to pay the investors on stuff like that.
I didn't even think about that, but that's your minimum return and then your maximum return. So, so I mean, that really does tell you a lot about what you'll need to be able to provide to your investors. So let's go back to the last couple questions. So, so what are your, so it says provide an analysis for each of the options Greg is considering. Based on your analysis, what should Greg do? Consider Greg's goals as well as the goals of everyone who is involved in this venture.
Well, what was the first part of that question?
So provide an analysis of each of the options. So there were the three options. So there was either take the buyout or the sale, go after the initial public offering, or just grow organically. So what are some of the strengths and weaknesses of taking the buyout?
Well, with the buyout, the Sable or whatever the big company is already really established and has like 40 times right now's revenue. And so they have a lot of resources and stuff that could help right now technology really advance to the next level, like immediately.
Yeah.
Because it said like, otherwise it could take them like 10 years or so to get to the same level on their own. And so it kind of fast tracks them.
Yeah. Do it.
That was actually out of the three, that was the one I was leaning towards, just reading this.
So what are some of the downsides then of doing that? So I mean, obviously one of them is the amount you have to pay your investors,
Right.
because they would technically be exiting. But the thing is it is an all shares, so it's not. You're just getting shares of the company. There's no cash involved. It's just an all share or all equity sell, basically. So that's part of it that I found that was a downside, is the fact that it is all shares, so you're not getting anything out of it other than shares in a bigger company, which then, like I said, in the case, you're betting on that other company to be successful. So they have to get the revenue to be able to determine what you're going to get out of it. So can you think of any other downsides possibly?
One other possible downside is that Greg had a goal to like bring like 2,000 jobs, I think it was, to Bozeman. And so I assume with this acquisition offer that wouldn't happen because it would be merged with Sable, which I don't think Sable is in Bozeman from my understanding. So he'd have to find another way to do that.
Yeah, because at that point, then it's under the other company's management, and they could move everything out of Bozeman. So
yeah, so that goal's not really in his control.
all right. So what about the second option of doing an IPO? What are some of the strengths of doing that option?
It could increase the awareness of the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, and I think it could really it could infuse them with the cash that they need without partnering with a bigger company. One of the other downsides that I was thinking of with partnering or being bought up by a bigger company is he did make the comment that bigger companies tend to not understand that market as well. And so because they're focused on the big, huge installations that are $100,000 plus of just selling the software to these companies instead of doing term leases on the software. And so that understanding really could potentially slow down the growth of right now technologies too, because that would take a whole different shift of mind from the bigger company to be able to keep that going. Where an IPO, they would be able to keep that going, and they wouldn't have to worry about the management of a bigger company possibly slowing down the growth.
Yeah, good point.
I think with an IPO, it had a lot more downsides than it had good.
Yeah, I saw some downsides.
Because
Yeah, especially since they'd failed a previous IPO. I mean, that really kind of put a black mark on it.
yeah, and I personally think they were too small still, and they would eventually, their finances wouldn't support them to go public yet.
And to go along with some more cons that I saw was in the case study, it mentioned that the market for tech IPOs right now is still depressed, and there's not very many optimistic signs in the marketplace that that's going to change.
Yeah.
And also, we can't forget how much IPOs cost, like over $1 million per year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
another con.
Yeah, so they could. I don't think an IPO was the right moment for them. Or it wasn't the right moment for them to do an IPO.
Yeah, I think right now definitely isn't the right time for an IPO. Now, as far as organic growth, what are some of the positives on that one?
It's not costing him anything.
Yeah,
They're
and
not going
there's
to be doing the $1 million per year of cost,
and-
you know?
Yeah, and at the same time, they don't give up any of the decision making. They don't give up any of the rights to the company. They don't give up any of that, which allows them to really seek after the goals that they started out with, which was to create a really awesome software product and to provide those jobs, the 2,000 jobs like Andrea was mentioning. So I think
Right.
with this option, it really does give them the power to keep on the track they're going on. So I saw quite a few positives with doing this. Some of the negatives. Well, before I go there, does anybody else have any other positives on this?
No.
No.
All right. So some of the negatives that I saw is obviously you're not going to be able to grow as fast, and you have all of a sudden it just slipped my Salesforce, which is your biggest competitor. They're doing an IPO right now, which means they're going to infuse with a lot of cash and a lot of greater resources. So if you aren't able to get your growth really going on your own, you're going to get surpassed by a bigger company, Salesforce, who has the funds and the resources now through an IPO to really put you in the dust.
Oh, that's a good point. It also says in the case study too that, like, if they were to try to grow it themselves, it would be great to bring all those jobs to Bozeman, but Bozeman isn't a hot spot for technology, and so I think that would be kind of a hard environment for them to try to grow on their own.
Yeah.
In that area that doesn't really have that much opportunity or resources for that industry.
Yeah, so based on the information that we know, so the strengths and the weaknesses and what goals Greg has as well as what goals everybody else has, what do you think is the best option? And this
I,
one was a tough one.
well, it sounds like with the first option and even the last one, his goal of the 2,000 jobs sounds like it's going to be kind of hard to achieve. You know, like you said, Bozeman's not really the hot spot for that type of thing. And then if they're acquired by that other company, then they're probably going to have all their own employees anyway. So that's not going to happen either. That's kind of what I was thinking about both of those.
Yeah, before discussing, I would have thought that them growing by themselves would have been like the best option. Which it could, but I don't know. I feel like right now technology is in a point where they're big enough to grow, but then they're not that big enough to go into like an IPO, or they're kind of like in the middle. So I don't know. It's kind of a difficult decision.
I said that.
Yeah.
What? Sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I said that I wanted them to take the acquisition offer. And like I understand that he'd have to try to find a different way to bring all those jobs to Bozeman. But I just thought that right now technology could really benefit from having that big parent company and how successful that they are. And I just saw the fast track to success on how much they can grow. And it also said that it was a very fair and attractive offer that was tempting for them. So yeah, I thought that right now could use those resources and it would be beneficial to them.
So now knowing how much the internal rate of review, internal rate of return, how much the investors are going to want out of it, does that still seem like the best option to you?
Yeah, see, after learning about that, I don't know. I wish I knew the offer.
Yeah,
I
that's the
couldn't
part
get on
I
the
struggle
case
with.
study. And so then I could really weigh it out and make a more educated decision.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. If the offer is that great that that it might still be worth it, even with the internal rate of return. But I can't imagine how high it would have to be to cover that and then still be worth taking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which option do you?
Wasn't very clear and cut and dry. Like, what was it, Zoe's Kitchen? I thought, okay, I know exactly what I would do. This one, especially after our conversation, I have no idea.
Well, I just wish I knew the offer.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true.
Yeah, with me, I originally kind of went with Paulette. I took a different approach than Paulette did, but it was similar. So I thought that their best option would be to grow organically and then wait until after Salesforce does their IPO and see what happens. Because if they do really well, there is the possibility that because they're actually, if you look at the revenue of Salesforce, it's actually less than what right now technologies had. Their revenue was lower. So if they do really well, then it might be a good time to move forward with an IPO for right now as well. So that was kind of my strategy on it, was to grow organically for now and possibly look at doing an IPO next
Kind of
year.
let them test the waters for you and just watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
I agree, especially with how high the internal rate of return is.
Yeah, that's such a turnoff right there.
If that wasn't so high, I would fight my acquisition argument, but it's hard to imagine an offer that would be worth it after that payout.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to the case study and look at the other companies that were bought out, the highest one, let me pull this back up. So the highest offer that was made to any of them, so the highest purchasing price was $420 million. So that one, but they had revenue of $111 million. So, I mean, that was high. The other one, let's see, was $350 million. And then, but all the others were like 100 million or just a little bit above that. They weren't, there was one that was 741 million, but I can't imagine it being 300 million or above. Like, I can't imagine that it would be that high of an offer. And it would have to be 300 to 400 million dollars to even make it worth his while to sell
Yeah.
and still be able to give them the rate of return that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Consider it. But yeah, I agree. Right now, it would be most beneficial to try to grow organically and weigh out the options.
So I was really curious just to know what they did. So I found an article on it, and that's what we're saying is exactly what they did. They turned down that offer, held out for a little bit, and then they did an IPO later on in 2004.
And the IPO
And-
was successful.
Big time. I guess at the close of trading, they closed at like $18.68, which was considerably higher. Yeah, it sounds like it went really well. It paid off handsomely, it said.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that's, I mean, this case I struggled with. Like, I really, because I was like, really, of the first and the third option, both of them were very, very hard to determine, which I knew I wouldn't go for an IPO right away.
Yeah.
I would hold out and see what Salesforce did first before I went forward with an IPO. And so that was, I knew it was between 1 or 3 is what I would do. And it was tough trying to figure out which one of those, because it gave you so very little data in the actual case study to know what.
Yeah, it drove me crazy.
What to do.
Again, I'll say that we didn't know the offer, but that was a good idea to look at the competitors' offers with their revenues.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're pretty good. So basically, we're at the end of it. We're all in conclusion that the best option then would be to hold out, grow organically until after Salesforce does their IPO, and then see where they're at, and then possibly move forward with an IPO if it seems like the time is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I'll go ahead and stop the recording.